Hello, hello. Happy full moon. Christine Strong coming in with an energy update. So, a lot of energy moving around today. We have the sun transitioning into gate 54. And we also have the full moon, and that moon is transitioning into gate 53. And so let's first start with the sun energy today. And so 54 is coming from our root going up into our spleen. In quantum human design, we call that the divine inspiration. And so the overall message for the next 6 days with this energy is to learn to be a conduit for divine inspiration, to be patient and to wait for alignment and the right timing before taking action, to be at peace with stewardship for ideas, and to learn to trust the divine trajectory of an inspiration. And so knowing that the root is that timing pressure gauge, really trusting and leaning into the divine timing and looking at times when we're trying to force and when times that we can lean into what the way that it's flowing. And so Ra calls this energy the marrying maiden. The marrying maiden. And so we're in this first line today as this investigator line, right? Really figuring out this energy, how it feels for us. And so the key word here is influence. And so the exaltment is the ability to achieve influence through secret relationships, anywhere from the private advisor to the Satanist. The ambition energized through secret relationships which fuel influence. A socially misguided instance on formal recognition of relationship that terms of influence will diminish its power. Ambition with which demands formal recognition, limiting influence. And so really looking at where are we trying to gain our influence with this divine inspiration, with this marrying maiden, right? Gaining this kind of power, right? Marrying into this energy, gathering into this community, marrying into this community. And so how are we gaining our influence? How are we gaining and attracting people? Is it through the secret relationships, which fuel the influence, or is it through these demands of it? And so how can we kind of almost like behind the scenes kind of relationships, and also that is learning to lean into trusting that divine timing, trusting that people are going to come up and support you when you might not know it, when you might not see it. And that is the divine, that we don't need to do all of this on our own. How can we lean into our community? How can we lean into our network of people, and how can we lean into them and build collaborations, not only for ourselves, but this is going to fuel the influence and ripple out for everyone. And so how can we start to shift into this collaborative piece? And so we have this one energy, because we're going to pull the cards based on the whole day, right? And so we have this energy of coming together, right? And finding how we can collaborate. And this is so beautiful now that I'm doing it at the end of my day. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but this actually happened to me today, this relationship, and really helped fuel my business. And I wasn't even realizing, wow, I could create this relationship and then lean on this person for support. And then that's growing their business as well. And so a very beautiful symbiotic relationship that can grow. And so now we have the full moon. The full moon is coming into gate 53, which is the gate of starting. And so the full moon energy always invites us to explore what we need to release and let go. Hence why I have the 741 frequency, right? We're playing the removing negative energy. And so the full moon always wants to get us to release and let go in order to stay in alignment. But this one's a little ironic because this is the gate of the starting. And so it is about clearing and releasing, but then also it wants to invite us what we want to explore into getting started. We cannot begin or start anything with great momentum if we're not ready, or if we're not engaging in the relationship with whatever it is we are starting with hidden agendas. And so really looking at clearing out and having those proper relationships, right? Those relationships that influence one another. And so beautifully played into the sun and the moon working together on this. We have to look to the new moon to explore what we were releasing in this lunar cycle. With the new moon highlighting in gate 10, the gate of self-love, we see this full moon is lovingly encouraging you to begin anew, to let go of any old narrative or experiences that block you from a fresh start with a new perspective, a new appreciation for yourself, and with deep resurrection and self-love for just who you are. This full moon brings us a powerful call to trust that the right things will find us, and that all we have to do is wait and trust that the things that are ours to do will call us out. And so really looking back, right, in our new moon, it was in gate 10, that self-love, and what were we calling in for that, and how can we lean back into that and start new things, right? We're in this new calendar year, if you're following along with that, right? And so anew, but what is it anew for our self-love to keep us in this frequency? Because remember, knowing that we are magnetic, knowing that when we're in the right frequency, that the things are going to come to us. The things that are ours will initiate. They will come and find us. And so looking into this energy of trusting that divine inspiration, right? We're trusting in the timing, the divine timing. And so wonderful energy of what do you want to start anew for you, right? This is my first day doing this video. I really don't know. I didn't even look into this. And so this was what I wanted to start for me. I wanted to make my messages easier to share. And I'm like, okay, how can I make this happen? And having a YouTube link makes that a little bit more accessible. And so here we are trying something new, seeing how it's going to play out. And so let's go ahead and pull 3 cards for this energy, for this new energy, jumping into this next 6 days, this next cycle of really leaning into and trusting the timing. Starting something new for yourself that you know will, and maybe that's just making new friendships, making new connections. Okay, one piece of my business that I don't like to do is marketing. So can I make new connections, new friendships with people that can help me with that? What is a way, I don't care to do the emailing, the social media, whatever it may be. How can you call in on this moon, in this energy, starting something new, a new relationship, right? Leaning into the different avenues, the different ways that if we set up certain pieces into place, the way things flow comes so much more easily. Start doing things with purpose. We get purpose here. And so gate 1, purpose. So looking at the purpose, looking at the intention. Okay. I'm calling in for a little bit of protection. This kind of card just jumped out, flipped out. And so looking at a little garlic today. Looking at a little protection, sometimes needing to maintain our boundaries. Sometimes that boundary could be our timing, right? And trusting and leaning into and not forcing. And so putting up boundaries where we're like, nope, I'm not going to force this. I'm not going to do this. How does that look, right? And so let's see what this last card, this alignment, and seeing where starting something new, leaning into our self-love, leaning into the marrying maiden, right? Our influence. How are we going to share, make this ripple, make our self-love ripple, make ourselves shine, feel like we're being seen and heard, right? Really, truly what that is making sure that we're being seen and heard, and that we're of value in this community, in this society. And that doesn't mean always by how much money we make or have. And so let's see. And we get the goddess Duvmanti, and we get her in reverse. And so perfect card for this full moon though, because she is going to ask us, challenge us to definitely look at releasing and letting go. And so really touching into this message here. And so really looking at one, right? Gate one, our purpose, coming from our G center. And it really is to discover a personal, meaningful, world-changing narrative that aligns with the sense of purpose, the I am. To learn to love yourself enough to honor the idea that your life is your purpose. You need to just be living it. It's not by doing it. And so to master this is the ability to know the authentic self and the deep connection with a life purpose, and knowing who you are, what shines you, what makes you light up, right? Doing this, sharing this, reading these messages, right? You can hear the change in my voice. That's one of my passions, one of the things I like to do. I feel like this is one of my soul's purpose, is to share the messages that I get to help people ground down. And so what is that for you? And looking at, when we find that we do need some protection, right? We need to really look at if we have any vampires stalking us lately. Are there people, places, or even situations that you're being asked to protect yourself from? And sometimes when we walk into these large crowds, there can be a tendency to absorb other people's energy, especially if you're an empath with heightened sensitivities. And sometimes people are absorbing and sucking our energy, right? It goes back two ways. And so looking into our environment, making sure that we are safe. And on the other hand, it's sometimes we need to protect ourselves from our own thoughts. Whatever it is, imagine a shield of protective white light around you, your home, and your family. It's time to call in the higher power or source of protection. They are there for you to help and assist. And so there always are ways that we can protect ourselves. And sometimes leaning into our soul's purpose might look a little bit different than what society might think our soul's purpose should look like, right? And so we need to be able to lean into it and trust it and know that when the time is right, you're going to get those steps. It's going to be time for you to share in that way. And yet again, we get Duvmanti letting go. She's also the goddess of disappointment. And so we have her in reverse. And so reminding ourselves that letting go is not a bad thing if you know that it's making space for something better. She's coming in, and she is the pain and the struggle that makes you who you are. She's the phase right before the enlightenment when you experience the void. She is your shadow self, the thing you don't want to look at, even when it's close to your core part of who you are. She's moving past the illusion, looking at life and death right in the eye and seeing that they are both sides of the same coin. Knowing that Duvmanti is guiding you through this difficult time and your highest self awaits you on the other side. And even if it might not be a quote unquote difficult time, but as we are starting something new, right? It can always be a little bit dark. It could always be a little bit foggy, so you say, right? We're not really certain. And so how can we lean into this trust and knowing that we're going to get the steps that we need to get, and knowing that we can let go of some of our past narrative, and that we don't need to know it all, that we can take the actionable steps that we need to make and start the process without having all of the puzzle pieces. And once we start that, once we put those steps together, once we start trusting ourselves and loving ourselves and leading with our guided protection, we are unstoppable. And that's all we need to do, is lead from our heart. And that is finding our soul's purpose. You can always check down the link below. I have my Telegram chat. I also have my email down below. Feel free to message me if you would like to work more, have a chart read, or just hear anything out about my offerings. I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful evening.